G'day guys and welcome back to Cookies Critters. So have you been thinking, how can I save some room? I've got all these enclosures taking up a heap of space and I need to find a way to condense that. So maybe you just need to get some more animals. To the dream, isn't it? So guys, stick around. In this video, we're going to show you a time lapse of how we build our racks. Okay guys, so the first thing that we must do, it's an absolute must, is we need to know exactly what species is going to go into this rack system. And the most important thing is it suitable for the animal? Now, depending on the rack you want to do, you've got to then start factoring in things. Does the animal need UV and lighting requirements? Now, I have specific racks that I do build for bearded dragons, for hatchling bearded dragons. They do incorporate UV lights, clear basking lights, etc, etc. So, perfect environment to raise young animals. Now, for my adults, yes, I do use my enclosures, which is behind these curtains during brumation. And but yeah, so please have a think about what animal it is and whether it does need lighting and UV requirements. If it is a nocturnal species and UV isn't required, or you can provide that through daily direct sunlight, then a rack system could be quite suitable for your situation. They are great for saving space, they are easy to clean, and very cost effective in terms of heating. So guys, stick around. We're going to go through the processes and let's get started. Okay, so the first step is we've decided what animal is going to go in there. And the rack today that I'm building can either be used for adult blue tongues or for adult carpet pythons. Now, I've decided to go ahead and use a 80 litre underbed storage tub. Now these units are about 1 metre long and about 60 centimetres wide. So quite a hefty bit of room for animals to move around. Now, the next thing that we need to consider is all the materials that we need for the build. And the key message here is measure twice, cut once. Like, be very meticulous in your planning, because at this stage here, it is where you're going to iron out any mistakes and you're going to save having to spend extra money and extra time going back and fixing things over. The next part is to consider the length of your heat cord and how many tubs that you want to have, right? So if you've got 10 tubs like we're going to go for in this system, we decided that we were going to split it into 2 units, and this way we can have a little bit more control over the lower 5 tubs as opposed to the top 5 tubs. That way they can be independently thermostated and regulated. So guys, at this point with your heat cord and knowing the height of your tub, knowing the width of your shelves, this is where a bit of math comes in place. Now, I remember we were all sitting back at school thinking, you know, when am I ever going to need to use math? Well, guys, if you want to save yourself some coin, time to switch on that math brain of yours, because you're going to have to work out the length of your heat cord, the height of your enclosure, and once you subtract those two away from each other, you'll be left with the usable heat cord. Then all you got to do is then obviously divide it by the number of shelves, and that gives you usable heat cord per shelf. Guys, what you're seeing right now is us going through our plotting out. We've marked our routing course, and each single pass of these, and I know it seems like it's just the same sheet being cut over and over and over again, but essentially we have set up a jig on our router, so that way we can do one sweep of each board and then reposition the jig, so that way each length is exact, it's precise, it's calculated. We're going to end up with consistent routing on each shelf. So guys, the next step here is for us to cover any exposed edges. Now, at this point, if we don't cover it, that is our ingress point for water, for moisture, humidity, all these nasty things that are essentially just going to swell and damage your rack. Now there are two methods to cover off these edges, and that's a simple iron-on technique that we're doing right here. And this just demonstrates a simple DIY job that you can pick it up from your local hardware shop. Just set your iron to as hot as it goes, and just pass it over. As long as you keep that iron moving, you're not going to burn the glue, you're not going to burn the edge tape. Just be careful of yourself, you don't burn your hands in the process. So the preferred way to do this would be to use a kitchen joinery company. They'll CMC all the timber, so everything can be cut for you, saves you having to cut it at home. And at the same time, they can just run it through an edging machine and they'll put on a nice professional beaded finish. So guys, like I said, as we have done the DIY option here, showing you the at-home option, once you've ironed on all your edges, you will need to use a brand new sharp Stanley knife to cut off any excess edging tape. Now guys, please be careful. Sharp Stanley knives, they can cause some damage. Not only to yourself, but they can also damage the timber on the corners as well. So keep your blade flush against the timber at all times, and you're not going to have an issue digging in and cutting your timber. Okay, so guys, we're getting into the building part now, the actual assembly and construction. And it's at this point here where it's super critical that we make sure that the job starts square. Now, what that means is essentially every corner needs to be perpendicular. It needs to be a perfect 90 degrees. Otherwise, when you go to stand your unit up, it's going to have a lean, left, right, back, or front, whichever way it is. And the shelves, the back, the sides, nothing's going to go together. It's going to be frustrating. So the couple ways that we can do this is simply have a large set square. Looks like a big yellow L shape. And then the other options are to use corner square clamps. Now we do use both. It does take away from the requirement of having a second set of hands to hold things in place. And they do give a relatively square corner, but that being said, you do need to check it and adjust it with a set square. So you might notice here, I have two drills running. The idea and the mentality between having two drills is you have one set with a small 2.5mm drill bit, and that will pre-drill your holes before you screw into the timber. And obviously the second one is going to be to actually anchor in your screws. Now, pre-drilling will save the timber from swelling and splitting because you're trying to wedge a metal object into a piece of timber. It's got that expansion has to go somewhere. Now you probably noticed the grey tape, that silver tape that I've just put down over the top of the heat cord. Now that is an aluminium foil tape. It is fiberglass reinforced. Now this stuff is heat rated, so it's not going to delaminate and peel off, especially when you're pulling drawers in and out all the time. If you just use any old ordinary gaffer tape, duct tape, all that kind of stuff, or don't tape it at all, you're eventually going to pull your heat cord out and damage it. Now each time I finish a particular shelf and I move on to the next level, you can see that I'm moving this little temporary board up. Now that's a 3mm sheet of melamine, and that just works as a temporary spacer. Now the reason why we use this, we put the spacer in, we put the tub on top, and then we lay the sheet, which is the next shelf, on top of that. This means that when we finish fastening everything together, we remove the temporary sheet and you're left with a tub and a 3mm gap above it, so that way you get ventilation. There's the heat and the cool exchange, allowing you to have fresh air. It eliminates humidity issues, odors, etc., etc. And it saves you having to drill some holes or melt some holes with your soldering iron into your tubs. Now guys, as you can see here, every step of the way we are checking it with our set square, with our spirit level, to make sure everything is sitting where it needs to. It is crucial. Take your time, do the job right the first time, and you're not going to have an issue with things being out of alignment. Okay guys, so we've finished installing all of the shelves, and at this stage you can see it's got a top, a base, all the shelves, a back panel, and two front posts. Now what we need to do is we need to install the 2 rear panels. Now these panels or posts will essentially restrain the tub from moving left and right, sliding off the shelf and allowing your animals to escape. But it also creates a bit of a sealed enclosure on that rear third of the tub, generating and allowing a bit of heat to be retained externally around the tub, which just helps with that sort of thermo insulation. So guys, one of the final things that you're going to want to do here is go through and run a second row of fasteners, so second row of screws. Now, the whole way through the build, you'll probably notice in those front posts, I only installed 1 row of screws per shelf. And the reason why I've done that is just to allow for any adjustments to be made within the shelf before I installed that finishing screw to keep the structure square and strong. So here we have it, guys. This is the finished product. On the wheels, it makes it super mobile, easy to get around, easy to pull the rack in and out, to clean underneath, to clean behind. It also makes it easier as well from a transport point of view, getting it from my place to the customer's house, and from there onwards to subsequent rooms, subsequent houses. So that's it, guys. That's our time lapse done for our 10 by 80 litre skink and snake rack. Now guys, if you did enjoy the content, if you do want to see more of these time lapse builds in the future, please let us know by dropping some comments down below. For the newcomers out there, please do subscribe to the channel and turn on those post notifications. That way you're not going to miss a coming video. And guys, don't forget to hit that like button. It shows us that you guys are enjoying what we're doing. So guys, as always, if you've got them, keep your beard treated and your reptiles heated.